been a busy week at Brooklyn Vegan with the Grammys, Record Store Days list of 2026 titles, a new Hayley Williams band, a Broken Social Scene Metric Stars announcement, an American football announcement, the new Ratboys album, and more. I'm Dave. I'm here with Andrew to talk about all of this and more on this episode of BV Weekly. It's also been really busy for me personally, Andrew, and you, honestly, but this week, I don't know, I can't believe we're recording already. I feel like sometimes the schedule of this podcast, we got to be recording by every Thursday afternoon so we can have a new episode for you every Friday morning, super early. And, sometimes it's like, oh my God, it's Thursday. It's here again. What are we going to talk about? But yeah, a lot happened.
Definitely a lot happened. Yeah, I agree the week flew by, but no lack of things to talk about.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't watch the Grammys, or fortunately, but I didn't get to see Turnstile win Grammys because I was at an actual hardcore show while that was happening. Yeah, on Sunday, I went to that big blue collar tribute, Sick of It All's frontman who's been struggling with cancer. There was this really special benefit show happening at Lucky 13 in Brooklyn. By the way, Lucky 13, underrated live music venue, one of the only metal bars in New York City. They also have go-go dancers on the bar and an underrated, underutilized live music room in the back. It's right on the border of like Park Slope and Gowanus here in South Brooklyn, which is part of why it's so under the radar, because all the clubs that touring bands are playing are like in Manhattan or in the more hip North Brooklyn. But it was good, like seeing a show in that room. They hold like less than 200 people, which was also why this show was kind of insane that it was held there. They announced it in like November. It sold out instantly, but they also sold tickets at the door, with doors which were at 2 p.m. on Sunday. And then the show went to like 11. I was there the whole time. Epic lineup. People really are coming together for Lou of Sick of It All. If you can help in any way, I think there's GoFundMe's out there. Lou's really been struggling, and it's really sad and unfortunate. But when these sad things happen, the hardcore scene comes together. And so this one was headlined by Life of Agony, who were billed as Bad Seeds. It was a secret set, and then Breakdown, legendary New York. The bill was full of legendary New York hardcore bands. Breakdown played right before Life of Agony, and Stigma did his like solo project before that from Agnostic Front. Sub-Zero played before that. Walter Streifels of A Million Bands did a solo. It was electric guitar, but like a solo acoustic style set where he played Gorilla Biscuits hits, and he did a whole bunch of Sick of It All covers. The whole thing was put together by...
How did he do Gorilla Biscuit songs with just a guitar? Like, were they like transformed into ballads, or were they like folk punk? Or
I mean, surely you watched the clip of Start Today on the Brooklyn Vegan Instagram stories.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't watching anything else on Sunday night.
He does that. And he does that at all. He always plays a lot of covers and material from rival schools, Quicksand, Gorilla Biscuits, his own solo project, Walking Concert. And he for this one, because it was also especially all old New York hardcore heads in the room, he played Murphy's Law song. He played Minor Threat. He just does a lot of different, he did a lot of special classic New York hardcore songs in general. And it was really great. It's put on by Howie Abrams, who is like an author, Howie Abrams, but he also is longtime music industry guy, worked at a lot of labels, signed Sick of It All back in the day. He also has this new film coming out. They showed the trailer, which by the way, we are in, not you and I personally, but in the trailer, they showed screenshots of Brooklyn Vegan. It's called Heavy Healing, and it's about like how heavy music heals people. So I couldn't completely tell if it was about just mental health or physical health. It seemed to be about both. So, but that was a theme, and they had lots of hardcore guys, Lou included, talking in the trailer. And for us, it was a screenshot of a post we did about Eddie from Leeway when he was sick, like a GoFundMe. And one of the opening bands on this show too was a Leeway tribute band. Inhuman played. Anyway, it was a really special, very, very long show. And I was following the Grammys a little on my phone from it, including watching the actual hardcore show while seeing Turnstile win a Grammy for metal.
Yeah, you keep saying actual. Yeah, it's funny because there's like all kinds of people angry about the Turnstiles thing, but for different reasons. Like some people are like, that's ridiculous that they won metal. They're not a metal band. And I'm like, oh, I thought we were way past that. Like the Grammys don't know what metal means. The metal category frequently has bands that aren't metal. And we went through this when they were nominated. So I was like surprised, but I guess it's like, I don't want to stereotype whoever is saying this, but I'm guessing if you're maybe more of like a serious XM metal radio listener, you're maybe just like Turnstile. That's not like one of the bands.
I don't think it ever gets old. It's never
really.
It never doesn't feel shocking that bands who are not metal. I mean, the big debate is, are Turnstile hardcore, which is, at a minimum a subgenre of punk, let's say. So then for them to win in metal, it makes it even like more complicated.
I mean, it's funny. To me, it's just like, I don't know what else you expect from the Grammys. But
well,
at
if
the same time,
rooting for like an actual metal band, it feels like, so you can't even give somebody who's actually metal like the one award they have a chance to win.
Right. But then it's just, again, it's like, if they're nominated, then they have just as much a right to win as whoever else. But it's dumb they were nominated in the first place.
Yes.
But it's just year after year after year, there are bands in that category that are just not metal.
The issue is being nominated for sure.
Yeah. And it's just, but it's, I guess at a certain point, I'm like, if I'm not surprised anymore because they're just consistent, then I'm like, I'm not going to get worked up each time, I guess, like I feel the same about like Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Like I can't keep getting worked up about, like, there are still people who are like, it's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Why are there rappers in it?
That's
like,
different.
Oh, that's different. Well,
yes.
I mean, it's different because they're expanding the definition of rock and roll and rock star.
Well, it's different because just because Run DMC gets in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame doesn't mean that like rock bands can't. There's only one winner of the metal award.
But there's only like X amount of inductees every year. So
but they still let
angry
in rock
people are like,
every year.
Eminem is in it before Iron Maiden. Like people are mad about that. I'm not mad about that. I don't care. I'm just saying, like, how do you get mad at the same thing every year? Like it's just a given.
Well, one of the big mad things specifically that was kind of viral on social media was Sleep Token fans specifically mad about Turnstile. So that the varieties of tweets out there that were like hating on Sleep Token, like the irony that Sleep Token thinks they're metal, like the Sleep Token fans think Sleep Token is metal, that whole thing. So
this is what I'm trying to say. Like, it's the Sleep Token fan base, I feel, is like maybe the only fan base in the world whom, I mean, not just specifically that band, but like them and their peers. But those fans are probably the only people who care who wins best metal at the Grammys. And so to be like, quote, robbed by a band that you don't even identify as metal. And yes, to your point of like Sleep Token, who often just don't sound metal.
And when I say it never gets old, I am saying it as somebody who remembers when Jethro Tull beat Metallica for metal. It's still, and I'm not mad the way I was mad at Jethro Tull beating Metallica, but I still don't think, I think Turnstile deserve a million awards. I just don't.
It's on the other thing
with the metal thing.
It's amazing that Turnstile won their first ever Grammys. They were nominated last time they were eligible and didn't win any of them. This time they won 2: Best Rock Album, which makes more sense, and for Never Enough, and Best Metal Performance for Birds. I'll just say though, if you're like not a heavy music listener at all, like if you're more listening to like Olivia Dean and Somber, you might hear Birds and be like, oh, this is metal, right? Like it's not crazy. I mean, it's not metal, but it's still like, aggressive, screamy music.
If one thing Turnstile did not cause, the Turnstile effect did not have an effect on the Grammys. There's still no hardcore category.
Hopefully one day.
I don't see it.
But yeah, then the other thing people are talking about is like, is this good or bad for hardcore? Because they're like Frozen Soul, the death metal band from Texas that we both love, tweeted that this is like huge for metal and hardcore and heavy music. And like they're taking a much more optimistic point of view of just like for a band who came from the scene that Turnstile came from to get on the Grammy stage, this is good for all of us. And then there are people who think this is bad for hardcore because it feels kind of like the sellout conversation that we had all over again. Like, honestly, you know what I was thinking the other day? I'm going to need a second edition of Dan Ozzi's Sellout with a Turnstile chapter. I think when I interviewed Dan about like why the book ended with Against Me, when like there were other major label punk bands that came after that, he kind of said like he didn't feel like the sellout narrative followed any punk bands that went to majors later in history than Against Me doing it in I think '07. Like we talked about Gaslight Anthem, and he was like, it just didn't seem like there was any like uproar about it. It just seemed fine. Turnstile are kind of making the sellout thing kind of come back, right? Like would you know what I mean? Like isn't the conversations around Turnstile similar to like Green Day in the 90s or, you know, like Blink-182? Yeah, right?
No, definitely would be a good chapter.
Mm-hmm. So it's interesting to see that too, where like now people are like, wait, you're taking this thing away from us. You're putting it on mainstream television. We don't want it there. And Turnstile like vaguely addressed this in the sort of statement they issued about their win. You know, they said something like, we like belong to nothing and belong to everyone or something like that. And I think it was like a way of saying like, hardcore scene doesn't get to claim us as their own and no one else's. We are for whoever wants us, including people in the hardcore scene and people who aren't in the hardcore scene. My take is that's a good way to be about it. I mean, like, I think it's weird. Like you get Kendrick up there talking, being so proud of how far hip hop has come. And the hip hop community is like, yeah, we're proud. And then Turnstile is like, we are bringing the hardcore scene here. And the hardcore community is like, don't do that. No. Like, why do we have to be doing this? Why can't we be like hip hop?
One scene not complaining anymore is indie, right? It's just like, oh yeah, obviously Bon Iver is at the Grammys, or obviously St. Vincent is at the Grammys. It's like, is anybody mad Wet Leg like won Grammys? No, I don't think so.
No. Did they win?
Oh.
Whatever. Regardless.
I can't remember. You're the one who watched it.
Yeah, but I didn't watch, to be fair, I was super busy that day and didn't tune into the pre-show where they actually give out like 90% of the awards. So I paid attention to Turnstile winning their first Grammys, The Cure winning their first ever Grammys. Another good, right? We're all happy for The Cure. Nobody's like, oh, alternative legends, they shouldn't be there. Like, I don't actually...
Yeah, everyone's like, finally, because
right.
It's hard to believe they never won.
Right.
By the way, I just wanted to say shout out Bill and Amanda from Brooklyn Vegan for taking the hit here and watching the entire pre-show.
Yes, tirelessly live blogging.
I was watching New York hardcore bands in a 200 capacity windowless box, and you were doing other various things until the main show. But yeah, so
yes, shout out Amanda and Bill for doing the Lord's work.
And congrats to The Cure. Yeah, no one's mad.
Yeah, I'm happy for The Cure.
Including Hayley Williams. She's mad.
She lost to them, and she said it was an honor to lose to The Cure.
I don't know if we wrote that. I was thinking someone either wrote it, read it, thought it, talked about it. Maybe we said it on the last episode. But it's like, if you're going to lose to anybody in that category, it felt like, of course, I can't be mad I lost to The Cure. So
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
and Hayley did go there.
Yeah, it's like when a legend is in your category that you all look up to. I mean, you even saw like Tyler, the Creator, looked so proud of Kendrick for winning when they like zoomed in on Tyler. You know, like there's definitely, I think, you just sense that certain artist to artist respect a lot of the times, but rather than like, you know, someone feeling robbed or whatever. Before we move on from Grammys, we should mention history was made because Bad Bunny won Album of the Year, which is the first time a Spanish language album ever won. And he gave most of his acceptance speech in Spanish. So I don't know what he said. I'm sure it's been translated, but I think that's amazing. I mean, I thought he should have won it for the last album, or I guess 2 albums ago. Um, but like it just, with just how dominant Spanish language music has become in the past few years, it feels long overdue. So I'm very, very excited that, like, again, like we talk about often, we don't care who wins album of the year at the Grammys, because you look at our own albums of the year list, and it's most of the stuff we loved wasn't even nominated. So who really cares? But I'm really happy he won this. And he was the most prominent person. There was the Grammys got a little political. Bad Bunny was the most prominent to do so. Some people, wore ice out pins. Billie Eilish said during her acceptance speech for Song of the Year, "No one is illegal on stolen land." But it was Bad Bunny, I thought, who gave the best quote when he said, "We are not savages. We are not animals. We are not aliens. We are humans, and we are Americans," which is also the second time he addressed Puerto Rico being part of America. There was a probably written in advance exchange between him and Trevor Noah about that. And Trevor Noah, also the host, the last year he's hosting, made jokes about Trump. And then Trump has since threatened to sue the Grammys in typical Trump fashion. But yeah, it was a really big night for Bad Bunny, and he used his platform well, and now he's going to be on the Super Bowl stage in a few days with Green Day playing the opening ceremony, and I'm sure it's about to get political again. And Trump's already said he's not going to be there, and maybe he'll threaten to sue the NFL next. Who knows?
He definitely already said, yeah, he said he wouldn't be watching it, wouldn't be there. There's that like competing Kid Rock show that he gets to watch instead.
Yeah, I'm sure that the viewership is going to be, similar. Anyway, so Hayley, I think not only did she say it was an honor to lose to The Cure, but very, very funny thing happened when she also launched a new band called Power Snatch. Their EP came out, I think, on Monday, is the day after the Grammys, and the press release went out, and the title of the press release was "Hayley Williams loses 4 Grammys, launches a new project." So they had a sense of humor about it. I love to see it. The funniest press release I've received in a minute. And meanwhile, the EP is out. It's just like the album Hayley did last year. She has been rolling this out in mysterious, atypical ways. And I think a lot of it has to do with being off of a major label and just feeling like, yay, I don't have to. Not only do I not have to do the types of rollouts that majors expect, but I'm actively going to do something way different. That's my assumption. So it's a project with Daniel James, who was the key collaborator producer on her last record, Ego Death at a Bachelorette Party, which lost 4 Grammys. And they premiered a song called Assignment on Apple Music One last week. And then fans did some digging and realized that there was a Power Snatch Instagram account launched back in July that teased a song, which we now know is called Duh, and a Power Snatch Bandcamp that went up in December with a song called DMs. Now there's an EP that's just on Bandcamp, and it's also on this other streaming website called Untitled. But I think you have to pay to download it. But you can stream it on Bandcamp. And it has DMs, Duh, and a song called Hole in the Ceiling. And then Assignment is on all major streaming services, which the EP isn't. And then Assignment isn't on Bandcamp. So again, she's doing it weird. But what do you think of the Power Snatch songs, Dave?
Well, because of this confusion, I haven't actually heard the Bandcamp only ones yet, because I was just catching up this morning. So I did hit play on Assignment, the one that's actually streaming on the more horrible streaming services, and I loved it immediately.
Yeah, I think I think a lot of it sounds like it fits really well with what she was doing on Ego Death, and I guess it makes sense because made with the same collaborator. But yeah, I think if you like that record, you'll like What's Here too. She's definitely doing more of a moodier, subdued kind of indie rock thing. I mean, she's touring this year with Water From Your Eyes. And I think you had said off air, that Power Snatch even more sounds almost more similar to that kind of band than to Paramore or something.
Yeah, it felt she's at least in Assignment, she's doing almost this spoken word, post-punk art rock kind of thing. But maybe because it's also Hayley Williams, it totally sounds like it could be on the radio. It's just really, it was just immediately likable too, which I can't always say about something that would put the words post-punk into my mind. So yeah, now I got to go hear the other 3 songs.
Yeah, I think the other 3 songs are a little more like melodic. Like there's the spoken word kind of thing is just on assignment.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm very curious to see.
Do you think she'll play those shows on that tour she has coming up?
Play those songs on that?
Yeah, sorry, those songs.
I don't know. Maybe. I'm curious. I mean, again, they seemed cut from the same cloth, so it makes sense. But
She probably won't play Paramore songs on her solo.
I don't think so. I mean, it would be cool if maybe she like transformed 1 or 2 into maybe like a different format that fit her solo material. But I mean, I would imagine she wouldn't do that.
Right.
But I guess we'll find out soon.
Yeah, meanwhile, Hayley Williams collaborators American Football are also up to something and just announced a big tour meanwhile.
Yeah,
After a whole bunch of teases.
Yeah, over the weekend, the American Football House in, I guess, is it in Champaign-Urbana or Chicago, but like in Illinois, that they now own with polyvinyl. The inside was lit up all red with like red lights coming out of all the windows, and photos started circulating on Reddit. Looks very ominous. There was a really good Seinfeld meme somebody made about it. Find that somewhere on Twitter. I'm sure you can easily do so. But they had put up like a cryptic teaser on Instagram recently. They changed their profile photo to a red photo. The tour flyer is also all red. But I'm thinking this is too heavy of a tease to have just all been for the tour. I think the tour is part of whatever rollout that they're doing. And also, I mean, like they've mentioned in the past that LP4 is coming, so it's not crazy. But also the press release for the tour had this quote: "As spring approaches in 2026, so does new growth, ... So we got that quote, we got the house lit up red, and that photo with the house lit up red and like the foot of snow around it, like that's a great photo. It's like, keep it in mind for LP5 for the cover art.
Not mentioned yet, but they also added an American Football song to Fortnite this week. Maybe the biggest news of all here. But on the same day, they added a Bad Bunny song. So
it's all coming up American Football.
They've got like cool collabs. They also just had those, like, I did not expect American Football to be added to Fortnite, but I also didn't. They also had that Vans shoe like last year, which, and then that big photo shoot at the American Football House to promote the Vans shoe, which
all for a band who never played to more than 100 people during their initial run.
Yeah.
Still crazy what happened to this band. I mean, this tour is like one of the most extensive tours because they do a lot of weekenders because, they're all parents and have day jobs and also have other bands. But I feel like it's going to be a big year for American Football. And I thought their last album, LP3, was actually their best yet. Sorry to anyone who thinks it's sacrilegious to not pick LP1, but I'm excited to hear what the presumably soon to be announced album, what it sounds like.
The last album, I'm wondering if there'll be any guests on it. Because like you said, part of the reason they're a Hayley Williams collaborator, who was also on set at that photo shoot promoting the Vans sneaker at the American Football House. She sang on one song on that LP3, right?
Yeah, she sang on a song, and then they had Rachel Goswell from Slowdive.
And Lizzie from Land of Talk.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, which was especially exciting to me because that Land of Talk, out of all like Canadian bands from the early 2000s, as much as I loved some that we're about to mention, Land of Talk was maybe even the most special one to me. That was, an early Brooklyn Vegan discovery. First time I saw Lizzie/Land of Talk was in the basement of some Lower East Side obscure venue that's no longer there. I can't even remember the name, but there were like 5 people there, including her manager at the time, who I then ended up becoming friends with. But Land of Talk. And then Land of Talk did end up getting more and more popular, put out lots of albums since then, and including Lizzie ended up being one of the many people who sang with Broken Social Scene, her fellow Canadians. And we also got some big Broken Social Scene news this week with not only a Broken Social Scene announced a new album, but a tour with Metric, who also the same day announced a new album. And Stars is on that tour too for like a full Canadian indie rock 2000 scene. These are all related collaborating bands for them to come back together all at the same time and do a tour together. It's really exciting. Not just for nostalgia though, because like I said, Broken Social Scene and Metric both announced new albums the same day, and they both put out songs the new day.
Although I will say that the new Broken Social Scene song in particular is very nostalgia inducing.
True.
It was produced by David Neufeld, who did You Forgotten People and Self-Titled. And the album is called Remember the Humans, which just feels like a play on You Forgotten People. Right?
And the song sounded... Oh, yeah.
The song sounds like super classic Broken Social Scene.
Yes.
So it does seem like there's me. And then, yeah, I mean, like the singers of Metric and Stars are on the early Broken Social Scene records. So we're all thinking this tour means we're getting the actual songs sung by the people who sung them. And Feist is on the new Broken Social Scene record. Not on the tour unless she makes a surprise appearance, but obviously Feist is kind of the other super famous person who was regularly singing with and maybe even technically a member of Broken Social Scene in their early days. So definitely seems like there's a little, like early 2000s nostalgia going into this the same way we've seen going into all kinds of other things.
Yeah, and it used to be like it was Feist who was the member of Broken Social Scene. Then sometimes when Feist got too busy, then Emily from Metric would do those vocals instead for Feist on the tour, or Amy from Stars would do them. Mm-hmm. So yeah, like you said, it was on record, but also live. One of the singer of Stars and the singer of Metric were often singer in Broken Social Scene. And now, I mean, I would say there's zero doubt. There's sometimes bands tour together. Opeth and Catatonia, sorry, obscure metal reference in comparison, are on tour together. And the singer of Opeth sang on like the greatest Catatonia early record, and definitely been wondering if we're going to see some of that collaboration on that tour happening right now. It's possible. I could look it up. I don't know when the tour started, but they're playing in New Jersey tonight when we're recording this. So I'm sure I could figure that out already. But anyway, my point is that I'm assuming it's not happening, even though I hope it's happening. But then on Broken Social Scene, I'm saying there's like a 99.9%.
Yeah.
It would be insane.
I think it's like the point.
Right.
Yeah.
So there will definitely all be getting on stage together during BSS's set.
And I'm definitely hoping like maybe, the hometown show or something, maybe Feist finds a way to come out. Like it, especially being on the new record, like she's back in their world, like, because Feist got the most famous, obviously. That goes without saying. I mean, I think there are probably I think most Feist fans don't even know that she sings on Broken Social Scene songs.
Right.
So fingers crossed. And busy week for Feist because she's on the new Charlotte Cornfield single too. So.
But I also liked, we talked about the BSS song, which is like, just sounds like old BSS, but I really like the new Metric song too. And I listened to the new Metric song and the new Power Snatch song back to back. So that was also a great combo right there. And you reminded me, Metric and Paramore even toured together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was, I think, on the self-titled Paramore album, which was kind of the beginning of Paramore moving a little bit like more towards the indie rock world and less like the Warped Tour pop punk world. So I think Metric was a good band to take out, and during that kind of bridging the gap era.
And I don't mean this in a negative way, but without even fully remembering that, Metric also became a kind of less indie than Broken Social Scene, Stars, and Feist. Like Metric kind of felt like they went in that more mainstream, major label rock world. Like they became a little of that. So Paramore arguably, also a little bit of that. So then
Yeah, they met in the middle.
they met in the middle.
And speaking of, before we completely never talk about the Grammys again until 2027, another Turnstile discourse that I saw, it was, the thing when you go on Twitter and you see a tweet about discourse, but you haven't seen the discourse.
That's actually more common than the
So
the
like, I guess
opposite.
apparently there were also Hayley Williams stands upset that Turnstile won. I mean, whenever a
Yeah,
more
I believe
popular
it.
artist loses to a less popular artist, there's just like stan armies that are like, well, this is clearly rigged because no one's ever heard of this band.
I mean,
Um,
that's one thing you could say, no matter how indie Hayley Williams becomes, she's still got major label style stands. I'll just put
yeah,
it that way.
no, for
That
sure. I
is,
mean, it's like my Twitter in particular, like maybe because my algorithm realizes that, like, I mean, I get served plenty of pop crave type stuff, but then it knows I'm also like more probably like into like emo and indie. So I get all the Hayley Williams, My Chemical Romance, and Panic at the Disco stan armies in my feed from time to time, and they're just as nuts as like the Swifties, all of them.
you,
Um,
now you have me thinking like what artists came from indie rock that then got stands later, and I can name two. Probably you could name them pretty quickly too.
are you
Which
going to
is,
say Mitski
I am going to say
and
Mitski.
Boy Genius?
I was going to say Phoebe Bridgers,
Phoebe
but
Bridgers,
yes.
yeah.
So
Mhm.
I don't know if there's any other examples. Like Bon Iver does not have stands.
No, it's crazy because that's like I think Mitski and Phoebe are both like what, fourth generation indie rock or something. Like there's nobody really from like the Strokes Interpol era that I can think of with stands.
Anyway,
Anyway, um, but I was gonna say that there was another tweet that was like, oh, like any Haley stands that are like thinking negatively about this, like Haley is the biggest Turnstile fan. And, we've talked about that on the show before. And she's also a collaborator of theirs. So everything we've mentioned ties together like it always seems to. Record Store Day. How's that transition?
are there Hayley Williams records?
Oh, the list is so long. I don't. Yes, sorry. Yes, there's a Paramore. They're doing the 20th anniversary deluxe reissue of the debut record. All We Know Is Falling, which came out last year, and it includes the EP with the Failure cover, Summer Tick EP. That's getting a Record Store Day variant.
Yeah,
But
so to back up 1 second, Record Store Day, which happens now twice a year, but still has the main Record Store Day once. The Black Friday one is kind of the smaller Record Store Day, but then the main Record Store Day happens when?
is it always 420 or is it just that
Oh yeah,
weekend?
it's
Now
something
oh
around
no,
then.
because it can't be because it's always a Saturday. So it's
Yeah, so
like, but it's the April 20th something Saturday. I'm just double checking. But you go keep talking and I'll tell you the date.
the bigger Record Store Day that happens then, then the announcement happens now in February. So they announced like all the titles that will be available only at indie record stores on that day. So yeah, we were going through them looking for some exciting ones.
It's April
What else
18th.
April 18th. What else are you excited?
I can come up with 5 that I genuinely am excited about because I feel like, there are zillions and I've done Record Store Day a few times, and a lot of times it can just feel like an excuse to pay more money for a limited vinyl variant. But there's always some things that are like would be exciting any day of the year, and I've got 5. Most
Hit me.
excitingly is the Lost Slipknot album. This has been teased for years. Like it's been in like all the metal magazines' most anticipated albums of the year list, like year after year after year. It's so they're officially releasing it under the artist name Look Outside Your Window, which I think maybe in the past there was some people wondered if that's the name of the album by Slipknot, but they're saying this isn't Slipknot, it's the members of Slipknot under a different name. Members have said in interviews it has a Radiohead vibe, and I mean, there are definitely really cool moments on a lot of Slipknot records where they go into something more atmospheric and clean. And so I can see like a whole album in that style. That would be really cool. It was recorded around like in the late 2000s, mid to late 2000s. So it's just been like sitting on the shelf for like maybe 20 years, and it's finally coming out on Record Store Day. So really seizing the moment. I'm really excited to hear that. And
I
go ahead.
asked you this about another record last week, possibly one that's going to appear on your list, but like when you say it's coming out on Record Store Day, do we know if it's also got a digital release yet on that
I have
day?
no idea, but I
Right.
definitely four of the five I've chosen are ones that like the music doesn't exist yet, like isn't publicly. So like I'm hoping, and I definitely would like kind of was that was shaping my answers. You know, like I'm always excited. Every year you get your obligatory Grateful Dead records. Can't go wrong because every Grateful Dead show is important to the Deadhead tape collecting community, or whatever version of that exists now, all digital and stuff. So to get like, you know, this year you get the Boston Music Hall show from June 11th, 1976 on vinyl, probably for the first time. Very cool. But I did go with music I'm hoping to hear that I haven't heard yet, mostly. So I do hope this stuff makes its way onto the internet, but I feel like vinyl only stuff in the current era pretty much always does. Outside of the not vinyl, but the what is it, the Wu-Tang NFT album that randomly got a new news update this week somehow. That's probably the only thing I can think of that isn't streaming. That like it did come out. Anyway, I really hope we get to hear, as previously mentioned on a different episode, the new album from Chuck D of Public Enemy and the drummer of The Doors, John Densmore, and it is coming out under the name Dope, lowercase D-O, capital P-E. And I mean, I just think a collaborative album from Chuck D and the drummer of The Doors is bound to be fascinating.
For sure.
We're also getting the very first Weezer studio sessions under the name 1192, the date it was recorded. It's stuff that ended up on Blue Album, but I can't wait for this because if you like all that stuff from like the Weezer vault of like the Blue Album and Pinkerton years, it's just like it's all worth hearing. Like all the bonus tracks that have shown up on the various reissues, the original demo from like 92 or something, so good. So I'm really excited just to hear how these recordings sound. You know, I like, to be fair, like there are a lot of bands where I'd be like, I love this album. I'm not like chomping at the bit to hear the unreleased demo version of it. But with Weezer, I definitely am, because just judging by the other stuff I've heard that isn't like from that era, but wasn't like produced for Blue Album, like there's a different vibe to a lot of the kind of rawer stuff. So I'm really curious to hear that. And then same era, a band who toured with Weezer not long ago, Dinosaur Jr., are putting out a never before released 1991 live album. And we were actually just having a conversation with some coworkers yesterday about sort of like the importance of live albums in the present day. And I think that they're still really worth it when you're getting an incredible era of a band that is long in the rear view. I mean, Dinosaur Jr. live in 91, like that's exciting, I think.
I mean, I already own this one on cassette.
It's never been released.
So you think.
Well, you tape traded for it. You were like a dino head.
I mean, that's my point. I don't actually have this one on cassette, but that's because I don't even know. I haven't even looked at what album what show this was. But, you know, I do think it's possible that it has been unofficially, quote, released.
Oh, yeah.
There's always a possibility.
Always a possibility. If the recordings exist, they could have, you know, they could be on YouTube or something. But, I mean, Dinosaur Jr. are one of those bands that, like, the live show really adds something. It makes it obviously.
I definitely want to hear this one for sure. Yeah. I own it. I buy it.
Last one. And this is one that has been released, but is impossible to get on vinyl. It goes for crazy money on Discogs.
K-pop Demon Hunters?
I was going to be my honorable mention, but you spoiled it. All right. We'll cliffhanger. We'll get there. Honorable mention to the K-pop Demon Hunters and Bluey releases. I think they're both picture discs. Honestly, probably better to buy than like all the cool music. Like great gift items.
So wait, Bluey is not actually your number 5? Just for clarity here?
No, Bluey's an honorable mention, along with
Okay,
K-pop Demon
okay.
Hunters. So I know you're obsessed with K-pop Demon Hunters,
And you're
and
obsessed with Bluey.
so I'll say that soon BV Weekly listeners will be hearing a little less of me because I am going to be on parental leave. We're having our first child soon, and I would easily buy him the Bluey picture disc for his nursery. I don't know if I really will, but like you know, getting in dad mode and feeling like a Bluey picture disc is actually a more likely purchase for me than even the Weezer demo.
Okay, your actual number 5.
Pavement's first release, Perfect Sound Forever. Like I said, crazy money on Discogs, super hard to find on vinyl. So this feels like genuinely like, and it's going to be, you know, all the record store day stuff is limited. So this is like, get out there, buy it. Please don't buy it just to flip it. We hate flippers. Flippers aren't cool, but go get it while you can.
Other highlights?
It's just so many. Like I said, the Grateful Dead. I mean, there's a Charlie XCX Party for You is coming out as like a single. That's pretty cool. Def Heaven's KXP Sessions. That'll be pretty cool. Best New Artist winner, Olivia Dean, BBC Radio 1 Live Lounge. A lot of demand, I'm sure, for that, just with everything going on.
You can't hate on records like that are going to get record stores, hopefully, a lot of money.
No, I mean, that's honestly part of why it sticks out to me. It's just like, you know, I respect the hustle of, you know, get the stuff that's going to get people in the doors, you know.
A lot of the stereotypes about indie record store snobbery might still be alive, but, you know, they're still making more money on Taylor Swift records than they are on Dinosaur Jr. records.
Yeah. And that's a cool collector's item, I think, you know, I mean, and also like, I think Olivia Dean's super talented. With now TikTok viral Jeff Buckley, he's got a live record coming, maybe
Perfect
some extra
timing.
demand.
Not to mention, not long after that documentary.
Right, exactly. Yeah, Jeff Buckley's been everywhere. Maybe the documentary is related to the virality. Some Cure, who we mentioned, the Lil Peep album Cryberry getting a 10th Cryberry getting a 10th anniversary edition is very cool. Who else? A Misfits thing. Yeah. There's and Against Me, who we were talking about, the B-sides from New Wave are coming out on vinyl, so that's cool. There's so much cool stuff. Check out the entire list on Brooklyn Vegan and go buy some records on April 18th.
Yeah, but don't wait till April 18th.
Because
there's some good records out now.
Yeah, including what I feel safe calling the best indie rock album of the year so far.
That's crazy.
Why?
I haven't heard it yet. I'm just like, oh shit. Oh wait, right. It's only February.
It's only February 6th, basically.
Okay, fair.
But I think that I'll be calling it one of the best indie rock albums of the year by the end of the year.
Spoiler alert.
And it's an album that I have hyped on a few episodes as the singles were rolled out. And I'm talking about Ratboys' new album, Sing Into an Empty Chair. It is easily the best Ratboys album that exists, and that's not a small feat because they have so many. So, like, to back up for a second, like, so Ratboys, there's kind of like the prevailing narrative that I've seen around this album is like Pitchfork did a piece by Nina Corcoran, and the headline is like, Ratboys are in it for the long game. And Stephen Hyden interviewed Ratboys for Uprocks, and he said, you know, your trajectory reminds me of bands like REM and The National, bands that like just kind of like gradually built and like have these really good records like later on in their career that are just as beloved, like not the typical sort of like, you know, amazing debut or amazing sophomore record and then a fall off, but more of a steady rise. And then Julia from Ratboys replied like, oh yeah, or Spoon too. And I'm like, you know, yeah. So like, and then if you look at Spoon, The National, and REM's catalogs, Ratboys are about 15 years into their career, 11 years past their debut album, and they're on their 6th LP. If you look at the records that National, Spoon, and REM released at like this milestone sort of, they're all classics. I mean, the National's 6th album, 12 years in, was Trouble Will Find Me. Spoon's 6th album, 11 years in, was Ga Ga Ga. Like, REM's sixth album was only 5 years in, it was Green, but you know, REM's early 90s stuff, which is like about a decade in, was, like Automatic for the People, like some of the best records. So Rap Boys are there in their career. They're at this just, really steady rise. And this, I think they just sound, so Rap Boys were kind of doing the indie rock country crossover thing before that was the big trend that it now is. And, some stars have aligned, nothing wrong with a little good timing. With everybody kind of like all eyes on this sort of music right now, it's great that Rap Boys are making such good music. But so, stars have aligned, the timing is good. The band is their second record written fully collaboratively with the 4-piece lineup that they currently have. So even though it is later in their career, there was sort of a newness to the last one, The Window, which was incredible. And this is like, the chemistry is even stronger. The screws are in tighter. And it was produced once again, like The Window, by Chris Walla, formerly of Death Cab for Cutie. Chris is like an amazing producer, if that needs to be said. And he's done such good work with like kind of like younger generation comparatively to Death Cab, indie rock bands who pretty much all grew up looking up to Death Cab. Everything I read about Chris's production work, he just sounds like a total dream for bands to work with. He's just got like such an open-minded approach, is what I understand. And this album just sounds like Rap Boys at their most natural. Like, feels like everything's coming second nature to them. Easily some of the best indie country stuff happening, like right up there with the best from Waxahachie and MJ Lenderman and Wednesday and all that stuff. Just so good. Every song feels like I've known it for years, and yet still feels fresh. I just can't say enough nice things about this Rap Boys album. Rap Boys singing to an empty chair.
I can't wait to hear it. I still have not. I'm very much looking forward to it. And it excites me because I've never been as big a Rap Boys fan as you, but we have collectively been Rap Boys fans for what feels like so long. And I would say bands with similar time spans and similar genre, I would not expect to be talking about in this way at this point.
Yeah, I mean, even like, so I noticed this while writing my review, which is up on notable releases on Brooklyn Vegan, but I've reviewed every Rap Boys album thus far, and I kind of always, in one way or another, call it the best Rap Boys album yet. So maybe it's like not a shocking take, but this is the most best Rap Boys album yet of all the others.
I mean, even from a concert draw point of view, right? For 10 years, we've been tracking Rap Boys live shows, posting about their tours on Brooklyn Vegan, going to their shows. And I expect them to be an opener or smaller venues. So when they announced that they're headlining very big Warsaw on this tour, which by the way is happening soon, right? And
March 5th. Yeah, the tour
March
starts
5th.
this month. Mm-hmm.
With the very amazing Flory opening, one of our favorite records of 2025.
Perfectly matched pairing.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a whoa. So it feels exciting that this is all happening for Rap Boys and that the record matches all of that. And it's just, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and it's like, I feel totally confident the show is going to be full and the new record's going to pop. Like,
right. Even like you said, there's a feature showed up on Pitchfork and
mm-hmm.
that huge feature from Stephen Hyden that you mentioned. Yeah. So it's like, it's not just us. Sometimes it feels like just us. That's one way to put it.
I think on the last record, The Window, there was a little bit of feeling of, especially with the indie country stuff starting to take off, like, hey, Rap Boys haven't really gotten their flowers. And so I think like that album got a lot of love, but a lot of that love was also like kind of wrapped in this band's underrated. And then I think now we've had 2 years since everybody realized they were maybe overlooking this band. And so we've seen this a lot throughout, like, our time closely following the careers of like tons of bands, is like the sort of trajectory of a band where everybody realizes how underrated their last record was or their last few records were. And then the next one is so much bigger because like in the time since the last one, everyone catches on. And this feels like that album for Rap Boys.
Ratboys definitely need to be nominated for Best New Artist in the Grammys next year.
They won't, but Geese will, I think.
That, right. Geese, who were not eligible at all this year for their newest record. It'll be crazy if Geese don't get any kind of nomination next year.
Yeah, like a best alternative album or something at a minimum. But they would be, they feel like the perfect band for Grammys to give a best new artist nod to, even though they are not new. But we're past that, just like we're past the metal thing.
I was wondering, though,
but I am.
Is this Ratboys record going to get the kind of attention that makes people surprised to learn this is not their first album, let alone their like sixth or whatever?
I think so. I think I would say that like even people who are like already following the band might not realize their debut album came out 11 years ago. And that their first EP came out 15 years ago.
Yeah, people we were talking to this week were surprised to find out that this is Geese's third or fourth album, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's kind of what I was referencing. Sometimes when, that the new record is so big, people are like, oh, whoa, they have many more.
Yeah.
You know who, so Julia, frontwoman of Ratboys, made us a list of her favorite albums of 2025 up on Brooklyn Vegan. I actually just pulled that up. She does have Flory on there. They're tour mates. Water From Your Eyes, also mentioned on this episode. The Wednesday album is in there. Geese only got an honorable mention, but they did make it.
She talked about Geese in that Stephen Hyde interview too, though. She's clearly like super excited about them.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a good quote about them at the end of the interview. I don't have it in front of me, but worth checking out. So you want to talk about some other records out this week?
Yeah, speaking of, I know one on this list also sort of fits that category of there are many more albums. Maybe we just didn't realize it until this week.
I think a lot fit that category, but which one do you mean?
The category of like, we didn't realize they were there kind of thing?
No, yeah. But which album are you talking about?
I am talking about Him Horrison, the singer of MS Paint.
Yeah, this definitely does fit that. And that Dee Dee from MS Paint has been releasing music. A lot of it's on Bandcamp, but also some of it's on streaming services since 2015 under the name Him Horrison, 4 years before MS Paint formed and 8 years before MS Paint's debut album came out and like got them the buzz that it got them. So Dee Dee has chosen to release their proper debut solo album under this moniker. It's called Starting Not to Hurt. And it's so cool and it's so different from MS Paint. It's like, honestly, it's kind of like a psychedelic pop and folk and shoegaze thing that's like almost more like Panda Bear or Deer Hunter or Beach House than MS Paint. And Dee Dee has a really beautiful singing voice. It's way different than their shouting voice in MS Paint. And the songwriting is very personal and sentimental and just all like everything happening works so well together. And it's all so different from MS Paint. So it's really, really cool record, I think.
Yeah, I can't wait to check it out. And to my point, I don't think I've ever checked out a Him Horrison album before or even fully realized it was a thing.
I'll be honest, I didn't realize.
Yeah.
I found out because of this announcement that the moniker has existed since 2015.
Got to start digging.
Start digging into Him Horrison, aka Dee Dee of MS Paint. But another artist with an album out this week that has way more records than anyone realizes is Atlanta rapper The God Fahim, because he put out a zillion albums in 2025, and that's an exact number. And they were like, I mean, I think I was on like his Rate Your Music page the other day, and it's like you're looking at his discography and you're like, oh, I feel like I'm missing some stuff. And then you realize there's a button that says see all 101 albums.
It's actually at 104 at this moment. Yeah, probably like two more albums, two or three more albums came out since you looked. Yep.
So this one is called the Dark Shogun Saga Volume 3. It's the first Dark Shogun Saga volume in 7 years.
That's also how long it would take
9 years. 9 years.
104 back to back.
Right. 9 years. I can't believe 2017 is 9 years ago. And the God Fahim is everywhere. Like, you know, he's all throughout the boom bap revival that we love, and he's on a lot of he does a lot of stuff with Makami and his Too Much to Consume but I think when he's at his best, he is just as compelling as the 90s era of boom bap rappers that he's obviously inspired by. And on this record, I think he's at his best. Um,
You
and
reminded
then
me, sorry, I think you're done with that album, right? You just reminded me by saying 2017. We forgot to mention that, yeah, it's been 9 years since Broken Social Scene also released an album. So
wow, you're
yeah.
blowing my mind. It feels like it was pretty recent.
And before that, it was 7 years. So like,
That I remembered. I did remember that the
yeah.
last one, which I liked, was the first in a while, but I thought it was like
So
3
this
years
one's
ago.
been even longer.
Wow.
This gap has been, yeah. I mean, You Forgot It in People and Broken Social Scene self-titled were 2002 and 2005, but then they became pretty scarce after that.
Yeah. I liked
Any
that 2010 album a lot too.
Forgiveness rock record.
Yeah, that was really good. Um, so another really cool record out this week is Joshua Crampton from Los Tutanaka. Los Tutanaka had like the
Remember
most talk.
them?
Yep, we did our. They had like the most talked about electronic record of last year. We talked about this when we were talking
The
about
one that Pitchfork
the
gave
one that
number
Pitchfork
one.
named number one, and one of the big appeals of that record is Joshua Crampton's like just totally hypnotic guitar work, which is like the music, pulls from traditional Andean music, but also kind of modern psychedelia. And it's just his guitar work is, you just get so sucked in. And this new album, that he's a solo record by him, is really cut from that same cloth. It's just so much more where that kind of guitar style came from. And I can't imagine, I would imagine all fans of the Los Tutanaka record would get sucked right into this one just as much. It's super, super hypnotic. And I haven't heard the J. Cole record, but, curious because coming off that Kendrick Drake beef thing, like, does J. Cole figure out how to get back where he was? We'll see creatively, I'm not fame wise. I mean, he's still famous, but does he make a record that he took some hits in that by just the way he kind of went about that whole thing. So I'm really curious to see kind of like how he gets back up. And black metal legends Mayhem are always making good music. And another record that I will end on is the new Dirt Buyer. It's called Dirt Buyer 3 because it's the third Dirt Buyer album. And Dirt Buyer is the project of a Brooklyn musician whose name is Joe and whose last name I'll probably butcher, so we'll stick with Joe. And he also plays in This Is Lorelei's live band with members of Fantasy of a Broken Heart are also in that live band. And Joe actually just made us a list of his favorite New York bands, including both This Is Lorelei and Fantasy of a Broken Heart, and some classics like Chic and Steely Dan.
He used to play in Model Actress as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, I didn't even know that. You're more the Dirt Buyer expert, but this record's cool. It's his most hi-fi yet, and also very lyrically dark and personal, and about kind of like a tough time in his life. And so like the sort of like the darkness of the lyrics is not offset, but the music is a cathartic release, a release from the darkness. So it's a good record.
Yeah, I got to hear that. I was obsessed with the last one.
Awesome. So yeah, we got reviews of all those records that we just mentioned and notable releases on BrooklynVegan.com. More reviews by Bill are in Indie Basement on BrooklynVegan.com, including the second Mandy, Indiana album, which has a Billy Woods feature, which is an amazing development, and Daphne, which is another moniker of Dan Snaith from Caribou. And this record is like, it has at least one song is credited to both Caribou and Daphne. So it's kind of like it's almost as much a Caribou record at times. Ulrika Spacek's new album, Expo, Bill's a longtime supporter of them, has so many good reviews of their other records. Now he has a good review of this record. And then Sarah Nixie's new album. Yeah. And those are all the albums that we talk about this week on Brooklyn Vegan.
Oh, wait, actually, one correction. I said that Joe from Dirt Buyer used to be in Model Actress. I think I might have gotten that slightly wrong. I think Ruben from Model Actress used to be in Dirt Buyer. That might have been the connection between Dirt Buyer and Model Actress. I knew there was something.
Got it. Well, now I feel less bad for not knowing that fact. So we're an hour in. I'm going to speed through some new songs this week, including that Koyo, the Long Island emo band that we've been big supporters of for a while, announced their new record, Barely Here. It's got guest spots from the singers of Drain and Fleshwater. The new single, Irreversible, sounds like Koyo. It's great. And we have an exclusive clear glitter vinyl variant in our store. So check that out. Really excited to hear new stuff from Koyo. We were just hyping, I was especially hyping Buck Meek's new record last week. I had mentioned the song Ring of Fire. I didn't remember the name of it, but I mentioned the song with the lyric about rock and roll in his blood. This is that song. It's out now. Go listen to that. Alex from Metz announced a new Weird Nightmare record. We got announcements of albums from Frico, Dua Sela, which features Bon Iver on both of the singles that are out. Flying Lotus announced an EP. It's actually his first release for his own Brainfeeder label. McCluskey, who made a big comeback last year, have a new mini LP on the way. Gia Margaret announced her first vocal record since 2018. It's got some cool guests on there, including Guy from Frou Frou, David Bazan, Amy Milan from Stars, we were just talking about, Kurt Vile, some others, and Misery, the hardcore band from the mid-2010s, is back, first EP in 10 years. It exists because they found out that their late drummer, Cale Sane, also of Twitching Tongues, God's Hate, and other bands, had recorded drum tracks for some new songs they were working on. They didn't realize the tracks were actually done, and they've built the songs around it. And here's the EP. It's coming. It's on Flat Spot. It'll be out in March. And Rolling Blackout's Coastal Fever released their first song in 4 years. So hopefully that means an album is on the way from them too. What else happened this week, Dave?
Comedian Eugene Merman, who we love and go way back with here at BV, has a new comedy special, which premieres tonight, February 6th on Veeps. There's also an album release of that, I think. All Things Go revealed its Toronto lineup with headliners Kesha and Lorde, plus Wet Leg, The Beaches, Mama, Holly Humberstone, and more. The not actually retired Paul Simon announced a full-fledged North American tour, including a hometown Queens show at Forest Hill Stadium. I'm not complaining about that retirement not being over at all, hoping to catch Paul this time around. Freddie Gibbs announced a tour, including his Govballs, surrounding his Govball set, and he's got some very interesting openers lined up, including Nourished by Time, Geordie Greepa Black Midi, and Two Dead Boys, aka Michi Darko and Zombie Juice, the Flatbush Zombies. Dry Cleaning released a new album last month, and Bill talks to them on a new episode of the BV Interviews podcast. Go subscribe to BV Interviews in addition to BV Weekly. Influential Screamo veterans Swing Kids announced their first ever New York City show. Al Jardine will perform the Beach Boys cult classic 1977 album Love You in full for the first time ever at an LA show. Soulwax are throwing the first ever rave at London's famed Abbey Road Studios tonight. This will feature the debut, sorry, I'm having really trouble today, will feature the debut of Too Many DJs' new bespoke Dewey's sound system, which is modeled on New York City's legendary Paradise Garage. And as Andrew said, an exclusive vinyl variant of that new Koyo album was announced with guest spots from Marissa from Fleshwater and Sammy from Drain, and that is available in the Brooklyn Vegan shop at shop.brooklynvegan.com, along with much, much, much more. And I think I messed that one up too. The record was announced. The exclusive vinyl variant is in the shop. Go get that. And let's get out of here, please. Talk to you next week.
Thanks for tuning in. Dave and I will be back every Friday morning with new episodes of BV Weekly. And in between the episodes, you can always get much more from us at brooklynvegan.com, on all of our social media, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You can pick up records from us at shop.brooklynvegan.com. And if you like what you hear, tell your friends about us, subscribe to the show, give us a good rating. All that little stuff goes a really long way. It really helps us a lot, and we really appreciate it. So until then, thank you again, and see you next time.